Welcome to Huskies Unleashed, a weekly program focusing on Bloomsburg athletics, a production of the Bloomsburg University Sports Information Department. Each week we visit with Huskies players and coaches and look ahead to the upcoming events on Upper Campus. The Bloomsburg University football team enters the 2014 season looking to defend its PSAC championship from a year ago. Picked third in the PSAC East preseason coaches poll earlier this month, the Huskies will need to replace 7 all-conference players who graduated off last year's championship team. 13 starters are back, though, 8 on defense and 5 on offense. The amount of returning players has head coach Paul Dara and the rest of the Huskies holding the expectation of again returning to the top of the conference.
I think every year, we always feel like we can't rely on the past. We've got to create our own identity, and this year is no different. But our goals have not changed. We want to win the division. We want to win the PSAC and move on as far as we can in the playoffs. I think those things never change. It's just the guys doing it change, and hopefully we'll be able to put together a football team that can compete for those titles and week in and week out. So it's going to be a great challenge, but we're looking forward to it. Every team has a uniqueness to it and a certain kind of chemistry, and we feel like this team has a great chance to be also another good football team and have a chance to compete for Eastern Division title and on from there. So it'll be good to get back at it here at practice and get these guys together and see what kind of football team we can put together.
Senior middle linebacker Justin Shirk was selected as a preseason second-team All-America honoree by D2Football.com this week. Shirk had the third most tackles in school history last year, making 123 stops. Shirk says the Huskies embrace a role where they will have a bullseye each week of PSAC competition as the defending conference champions.
There's a lot of excitement for this team this year. Lost a lot of key players last year, but we have a lot of depth coming back, and should be a really good season for us, and expectations are pretty high. Definitely a bullseye on our back. I think that's something we shouldn't be worrying ourselves about too much. We won it last year, but we're not entitled to it this year. We still got to work hard for it and come back and play every game like it's our last.
The Bloomsburg University men's soccer team kicks off its regular season this week, beginning at home versus St. Thomas Aquinas on Thursday, September 4th at 3 p.m. The Huskies have a new look this season, bringing 12 freshmen onto the roster, and head coach Paul Payne hopes that youth will bring them a jolt of energy this fall.
Kids came in fit, and I was happy to see the level of competition, not only for the freshmen, but the upperclassmen. And so many of these freshmen stepped on the field, and it was like they had been here and played and competed at a college level already. So we're kind of excited. But again, it's still a big unknown.
Very young team. Is this maybe the youngest team that you've ever had?
Darn close to it. And but I was just talking with one of the upperclassmen. We had a friendly on Saturday, and a group of the freshmen, especially, as I said, you didn't know they were freshmen out there. Real composed, handled the game physically in the pace of the game, which tends to be the biggest adjustment. So although they're young, I mean, they haven't acted young. But then again, we haven't gotten into the battles of the PSAC, and some of the top teams will play in the nation coming up with New York Tech and Stack, our first match. So that'll be the true test. But the transition, I think, for most of those young pups have been quite good.
The kids that you do have coming back, just a couple seniors and your juniors,
yeah.
Have you talked with them about needing to take any more of a leadership role this year?
Well, they identified that back as early as January. That they needed to be responsible for the culture and the direction of the team. As much as coaches say, it's the players have to buy in. And so that group of, and I don't look at as seniors and juniors, it's the older or the upperclassmen that have identified that, and they're still learning that as well, how to lead. So not only is it a process for the freshmen in this transition, it also is for the upperclassmen. But they seem to have embraced that role, and a number of them have, and now it's collectively as a unit can we do it.
Men's soccer holds the honor of hosting the very first event at the newly resurfaced and renamed Steph Pettitte Stadium Thursday, September 4th at 3 p.m. Formerly known as Sports Stadium, the facility is undergoing several renovations, including the installation of a new turf field, which was completed this summer. Named in honor of Bloomsburg graduate Steph Pettitte for his donations toward renovations and athletic scholarships, The facility is one of the finest in the region.
Already it's been noticeable because we went and played a friendly on another field, and my players were commenting about how poor the surface was, and basically it was the same surface we had up till July before we had the laying down of the new surface, and then obviously the Steph Pettitte field. So I think it just makes the players feel excited when they step on a pitch that's quite new, and with all the other things we know is coming because of Steph's generosity. I think it's a great testament to Bloomsburg athletics and to all the athletes that here is someone who was here for football is willing to make the commitment to Bloomsburg athletics, just not football. And knowing Steph a little bit through the times he's been here, I know he's passionate about the university, and already he's saying, well, what else can we help you with? So it's not a one-off deal. I don't believe it's a lifelong commitment.
The first 50 students to present valid Bloomsburg University ID at Thursday's game will receive a free Huskies t-shirt at halftime. The first 50 students to attend next Saturday's women's soccer game on September 6th versus IUP will also receive a free t-shirt. The Huskies women's soccer team has high hopes after winning their last 3 matches of the year a season ago and working into the Atlantic Region top 10 to finish the season. Head coach Stephanie Anderson believes the Huskies are ready to take the next step to fight for a postseason berth.
Last year we started to get it, and yeah, like you said, you could see it building throughout the year. We had a really strong finish. We ended up top 10 in the region in the regular season rankings, and you started to see them come together and start to believe. We played Cal really close. We played Stroudsburg really close. We played all these top-tier teams within a goal or took them into overtime. So now it's just breaking through the wall. So we lost a lot of players, which is hard. When you lose your entire back line, that is tough. And when you only have a week of preseason, it's tough to build that again. However, the rest of our players, from starters to bench, are so much more bought into what we're doing. They understand it better. They understand me as a coach. I understand them as players, how they need to learn. So I expect us to do even better this year. I think some of those games that we lost in overtime because we didn't believe that we should win them, we believe that we should win them now. So, we won't be perfect, and we'll, be figuring things out as we go. But, I really believe that this team can make it to the national tournament. I mean, we have an incredibly competitive conference that sends 5 teams to the national tournament. So if you can win a couple more games, you can really compete on the national level.
In field hockey, the Huskies bring additional experience to the 2014 campaign, with 11 sophomores returning with a full season under their belts. The team finished 13-7 last year and reached the PSAC semifinals before falling to eventual national champion Shippensburg in a hard-fought 1-0 contest. Head coach Nikki Rhodes talks about the outlook for the Huskies this fall.
But we need to start finishing, and I think that's our weakness. But our strength is by far, I think we pass very well between our 25s. We move the ball well. We move both laterally, and also north and south. And I think that's huge for us. We still play the game. The style of the game hasn't been any different. We still play at a high speed, which is huge for the Division II level. We still play fast, which is a huge strength for us among some of our opponents. And we have the ability to do what we need to accomplish if we can put those small pieces together.
That's all this week for Huskies Unleashed. Join us again next week for news and features on Huskies athletics.